This is what the NBA had in mind with the advent of the play-in tournament.
The drama continues. It is a battle royale. SoFi NBA play-in tournament. It's win or go home.
The play-in tournament. All this drama, more at stake for more teams. With the playoffs on the line.
Can you believe it? Buckle up, baby. Boy. SoFi NBA play-in tournament turns up the bass.
Get out the way.
City for the win! No! By gun! Oh, no! That's a man's chance! On a human highlight reel. The competition level, these teams are going at it. Any way you look at it, the matchups are fascinating, and every man and woman and child on their feet.
The SoFi NBA play-in tournament.
Just from the jump, Miami got out to a hot start, and they were not turning back. As we look at some highlights here, 4-0 lead already. Tyler Herro started the game red hot. He started 8 for 8 from the field. And it really, I could tell the energy seemed like Bulls fans were into it. They love that playoff energy and atmosphere, basketball back in the Windy City, but they could never catch up, and the score just got away from them as the first quarter went on, as we see some of these highlights, Sean.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, Tyler Herro ended the game with 38. He was 13 of 19, 3 of 7 from deep, and was just an offensive monster tonight in Chicago, and they never could catch up. So, yeah, this is a very familiar setting for the Chicago Bulls. 3 straight years they've been in this game and lost it. So they're very familiar. It's a spot that the fans have become used to and get up for it. I think that's why the atmosphere was so engaged. But when you talk about the Miami Heat, a team that offensively has struggled most of the year, that's been their Achilles heel, and the Bulls coming on offensively down the stretch, they've been playing a lot better. For them to not just break 90 and lose 109-90 was shocking. I thought Eric Spoelstra did a great job of putting the game plan offensively together to put a lot of pressure on the Bulls, and they couldn't respond with just Kobe White and Josh Giddey being the only guys that could create.
Yeah, well, Tyler Herro, he got it done on the offensive end, started 8 for 8. He went 10 for 10 from the field in the paint. So not only was he hitting threes, but he was dominating when he got to the paint as well. Didn't miss a shot, finished with 38 points tonight. But they were getting it done on both ends of the floor. You mentioned Davion Mitchell. He had 15 points and 9 assists, but off night, he was probably even more valuable on defense than he was on offense tonight. One of the key reasons that the Chicago Bulls only had 90 points when Josh Giddey, Kobe White, these guys have been red hot as of late, and Kobe White did not get into a rhythm because of Davion Mitchell and the defense that we've come to know and respect out of him.
No question. Davion Mitchell was the most important guy on the floor for me, set the tone for the Miami Heat from the jump, and was absolutely in Kobe White's pocket all night long. Frustrating, very physical, reminds me of Lou Dort in a lot of different ways. Not super tall in stature, but a fire plug, solid, fire hydrant, super strong, and if you let him get physical with you, the confidence was growing all night long, and Kobe White was having a really hard time creating space and being able to try to create offensively for the Bulls, because if it's not coming from Josh Giddey or Kobe White, it's very difficult for those guys to score. Not many other guys can create their own shot. Patrick Williams is not creating his own shot. Vucevic on the block can get it, but someone still has to get it to him on that block. So when Davion Mitchell can shut the water off on one of your big-time offensive playmakers like he did Kobe White for a big chunk of the night, it was always going to be a difficult evening for the Bulls.
Coach Eric Spoelstra, there's a reason he's the longest tenured coach in the NBA, and he is become a real legend with incredible postseason experience. Let's go to him and hear about his game plan and what he thought about tonight's result from his team.
Question. Obviously, there's so much emotion through a season and into this. Just so your thoughts and maybe a little bit of what you shared with the team.
none of your business. Unfortunately, I think there's a camera in there. You'll probably it was a quick message. We're only halfway there. We didn't have the luxury of having the one game and then you're automatically in. So guys feel great about this win. Really put a lot into this. This is not something that could just happen overnight. We feel like there's been some good things happening the last several weeks, and this is the first time we've been mostly whole in a while where guys feel good. So Chicago also humbled us this year. They have a unique style of play, the way they play with that pace and they score. We had 2 games where we felt like we were in control of the game, both times in the fourth quarter, and they came storming back and had some impressive, scoring quarters. So even as we were up, 15 in the fourth quarter, I remember being up 12, at home, and how fast that lead can change because of their pace. Our guys really respected how much they could score. And we had some impressive defensive efforts to be able to hold that team to 90. Is not an easy task. So there were some very good defensive performances. I thought Bam set the tone, at the beginning of the game, just with his energy and toughness. And the matchup was giddy. But then different guys stepped up at different times. Wiggs defensively had some really good possessions. Davion obviously is so inspiring with his effort. And Kyle, without scoring a basket in this game, had as much impact as anybody. I love stat lines like that. How much you can help win a game without scoring a point. But we're only halfway there. So we got to recalibrate and get to our prep pretty quickly and get on to Atlanta.
A week ago, we were talking about a Tyler Herro shot. When he tried to do right, at least he thought. But what does it say about him that 1 week later he can come back, have such a dominating performance, and really absolutely seize the moment?
Yeah, Tyler's a great competitor. Look, we were fighting to get back. I mean, that would have been an absolute steal if we got that game. I mean, if he made the shot, I tell you what, it would have been a whole lot more interesting those last 2 possessions. But he's a great competitor. So he knew he was going to have to bring a lot to this game, and offensively he was there pretty much at every level all game long. But I think quietly I thought he had a really good defensive game. And we need that, we're going to need that as we move on to Atlanta. He wants to prove that he can be a two-way player, and I love that about him.
Tyler, how much of the growth that we've seen all year was on the slate tonight? Just 10 of 10, I think, in the paint, 20 paint points, and just the pace he played at.
Yeah, and it was, like I said, it was in a lot of different ways. So it's not just straight high pick and roll where he's just going to get worn out or they could trap him. He's making a lot of those plays in between that are unscripted. But we've also, been able to develop that game, which requires everybody, seizing those moments, and seeing it and developing an IQ to be able to get to that, to be able to take advantage of his skill set, particularly when he's off the ball. And that's taken some time, but he's an extremely, he's a highly skilled, offensive player.
You look at what's next and going from this and having really almost 4 days to prepare for this to a relatively quick turnaround to Atlanta. What do you sort of think will have to change for that type of game, or is it just bring what you brought today and let game plan sort of fall?
Well, I mean, the most important thing about today is that we imposed a will defensively and competitively, on the glass, loose balls, things of that nature. Those will remain true. As we get to Atlanta, there will be some different specifics, to their team, and, we'll just have to get to it. I mean, our guys love to compete, so I don't think they would like, 2 extra days, waiting around to get after it.
That was perfect in the first half of the field. But then early fourth quarter, they started to get some misses, forcing turnovers. And then he just had a few possessions where he just went straight at guys and drew fouls. How important was that for him? You said he had this really kind of well-rounded game to show that he could just win with physicality and control the game that way.
Yeah, and have the patience. You're not going to go perfect all the way through, but can you respond when a couple of possessions don't go your way? And then can you continue to make the right play? Sometimes it's getting off the ball. Sometimes it's playing off the ball and allowing other guys to play and providing space. He's become much more patient and mature. And I think, his confidence is just growing, and he's becoming a lot more efficient, because of that. Right?
Defensive security rotations, they never had clean passing around. They couldn't really get advantage, just swinging the ball around. How did everybody defend? Yeah,
again, like what I said before. Our guys, we all felt humbled. They can score, and we, watching games where they'd score 150 points, and then had those monster quarters against us to get a win. So it was born out of respect, for the offensive firepower and the system that Billy's developed, with this team. All right. Thank you.
Coach Eric Spoelstra of the Miami Heat, his team gets a big win tonight and their season stays alive. Their postseason hopes of clinching that number 8 seed will be determined Friday night as they visit the Atlanta Hawks. And Coach Spo said this Chicago Bulls team, they pummeled us this season. They were an offensive juggernaut, really, the second half of the season. And to be able to hold them to 90 points, defense seemed to be the key tonight, Sean. Absolutely. David Mitchell, Bam Adebayo, who's matched up against Josh Giddey. I want to talk about that a little bit, too. An interesting matchup. I was surprised to see that, but it clearly worked. But as you mentioned, the hot start from Tyler Herro, he's someone we've seen get red hot in the postseason before, and he did tonight. He started this game 8 for 8 from the floor. As let's watch some Tyler Herro highlights early. He did not miss a shot in the paint all night long, 10 for 10 from the field in the paint, but also you had to respect his three-point shooting. He's got range, and we've seen him do this in the postseason before, have some really big performances, dating all the way back to his rookie season with the Miami Heat when he kind of came on the map. But this year really came into his own, an all-star this season, and has blossomed into that number one offensive option. And he can make the Miami Heat dangerous because on a night when he's got it going and they can play defense like this, they got to like their chances against almost anybody in a one-game situation.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Last 5 games coming into this playing game, Herro was averaging 26.4 points. He shows up in Chicago on the road, scores 38. And as you watch these highlights, one thing you'll notice is any way you want it. From the perimeter, he was knocking everything down. As you mentioned, Jay, in the paint, didn't miss. Float game was working. He was creating anything he wanted to do against Kevin Herter. A little step back there, all nylon. Anything he wanted against Herter, he got. Anytime he saw Giddey in a one-on-one situation, he would attack him and got anything he wanted. Tyler Herro was lethal all night long, and he's been that way all year long, if we're being honest. Jimmy, before parting to Golden State, missed a ton of games. And the guy that kept them afloat in any sense was Tyler Herro offensively. Ends up making the All-Star team, wins the three-point contest. He's been great all year long, and it was all on display in a 9-10 game, win or go home in Chicago tonight.
Let's hear from the head coach of the Chicago Bulls, Billy Donovan, about his team's performance tonight.
Well, you always talk about needing to play to your identity, and in that first half, obviously that was not your identity.
No. I agree, 100%.
I
just, the disappointing part for me is, what you get to this point in time of the season, these games are going to be grind out, games. And I think I mentioned before the game, there's going to be experiences these guys are going to have to go through, quite honestly. And, the disappointing part was we didn't play to our identity. We just didn't. And I talked before the game about the turnovers. We had 10, or 11 in the first half, and you give up 23 points at this point in time. You can't win like that. It's hard. And then I thought the recognition of how they were guarding and what they were doing, and not that they necessarily changed a lot. I mean, they had basically the last 2 games had put Bam on Josh, so it's not something that we hadn't seen before. And the first time we played them, they did that. The second time, they kind of switched up matchups, put Bam on Modest, which is fine. But just have the awareness of just like how they're guarding, what they're doing. And I think that we had this mentality of just, we didn't work the game. We didn't read the game well enough. And I'm hopeful for some of our guys that this can be a real good growth opportunity. And it's unfortunate because, I thought with the not confusion, but with all the uncertainty at the trade deadline and then getting the team together, the group really did a great job from the trade deadline on. You know what I mean? And you just, when you lose a game, you don't want to lose where, to your point, you're not playing to your identity how you want to. That was the disappointing part. But I appreciate the way these guys tried to come together, the way they worked all year long. Just wish it would have been a better game for us the way we played. And give Miami credit. They played well and did the things they needed to do in the game.
Billy, it appeared that Spoelstra came in looking to expose every flaw that he saw from you guys on film, and they were able to execute that. Did you get that sense that, they were going at Josh? They were making Kobe work on defense.